Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Expert Commander. I'm Christopher Armour.
One day you'll say that and I won't giggle. I am Nagonzo. Good afternoon.
And this is the podcast that was almost cool in the same way that a leather jacket is cool, but ended up being not cool in the way that like a leather vest is not cool.
I was like what Adijah says about being cool. Where it's like you put a toothpick in the corner of your mouth. That's cool. Put a toothpick in both corners of your mouth. That's not cool.
Yeah, there's always that very fine line, isn't there? There's a very fine line between what's cool and what's not cool, and I think
a good example is sitting in the dark. That's cool.
yes.
Sitting in the dark because the electricity just blew in your house and you have no lights. That's not cool, and that's what I'm currently doing.
Yes, Nick and I have returned to our normal living arrangements at opposite ends of the country. So Nick turned on a light somewhere in his house, and all of the lights have gone out. So I'm just imagining him hunched around his laptop with like an oil-burning lamp next to him.
I went immediately nuts, broke apart some antique furniture, and just set it afire.
Are you also wearing fingerless gloves at this point?
I'm stuffing newspaper into my lining on my coat.
Oh,
despite the fact that my heating is gas powered, and therefore that makes no sense.
Oh, that got really sad and really real for a minute there.
One of my favourite moments in a TV program we both like is Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Very much so. We are both unapologetic Always Sunny fans. We love to suffer.
One of my favourite moments in that is when the gang goes on a road trip episode where they decide to make a fire in the back of a trailer.
Yeah.
And they immediately pass out because having a fire in a confined space is a really dumb thing to do. But rather than blame their own idiocy, they blame the chairs they burn. And
yes,
so one of them says the chairs must have had some form of glaze on it, and then the other guy goes, "Yes, a poison glaze."
I think that's a nice kind of visual metaphor for what we were just talking about like there being a really fine line between what's cool and what's not cool. Like sitting around a campfire is cool. Riding around in a trailer while it's being towed by a car is cool. The combination of those two things is death by smoke inhalation.
Okay, so how are you anyway?
I'm very good. I have for you, for our delectation today, another installment of Weird Shit I Find in the RSPCA.
Weird shit at the RSPCA. What's that you got there? Is it offensive? Yes. This is enthralling. Now this time I've not even seen any Instagram photos, so I genuinely don't know what you may have.
So on today's episode of Weird Shit I Find in the RSPCA, I'm holding a book in my hands. For some reason there are always books, or there are always books so far in the Weird Shit I Find in the RSPCA segments. It's an A4 book, and it says on the front cover, "Wise words to our grandchildren." And on the cover it has an open Bible, which is open to Proverbs chapter 1.
Okay, my favourite of all the proverbs.
Oh, absolutely, all of the Proverbs.
All the hits are in there.
That is
one through the ending number.
That's the greatest hits of the Proverbs world. And this
It's weird that it starts with the greatest hits when it's clearly their first album.
Yeah, that's true. So, and this book was written by R.B. and G.N. Ewers, who I presume are the grandparents of the title, or they are the ones who have the grandchildren. Now, Nick, I'm going to read some passages from this book.
Okay.
And I want you to try and guess when it was published.
Oh, crikey! Okay.
Okay, and these are all. It's not really even a narrative. It's just like a bunch of separate, like one-page mini sermons, I suppose. All based around the Book of Proverbs. And also, I'd just like to point out, normally we have a thing where we talk about where it was published and look at the publishing house, but this wasn't ever published. This was clearly run out of someone's printer.
Okay. So I know for a fact it was, if we're talking about the Book of Proverbs, it was published after 1600, so that gives me a good start.
Yeah, that's your starting point.
sometime between, I imagine, this year and the Jacobean period.
Yeah, that's what we would call a conservative estimate, Nick. So good to see you
This
stick.
is this is the Sherlock. This is my Sherlock Holmes logic coming down to it.
Yeah, I'm so glad to see you sticking your neck out and you're making a proper guess. Anyway, so just another little detail about this book. This was clearly
Okay.
run out of someone's printer because all the pages are only printed on one side. There is a variety of fonts used.
Oh, are they all on one page? Nothing says class like using more than 3 fonts on one page.
I don't think it's more than three. They've got I think it's like 2 serif fonts that they've used. They've used one serif font for the body of the text, and they've used a different serif font for the italicized quotations. So here are a couple of choice cuts from the Wise Words to Our Grandchildren from
Okay.
RB and GN Ewers. This is on the subject of disciplining children.
I really wanted to play like sort of Jerusalem in the background
Oh,
while you read this.
I can do that if you like. I'll get some stock churchy music and just play it
Yes.
underneath.
Yeah, please
Yeah.
do. Right, okay. We're here, right, ready. Go for your nonsense. Go, I'm ready.
Okay, so if anyone's reading along at home, your relevant text for this is Proverbs 13:24.
Should we give him time to flip it open?
please open your books now. So,
Pause now and find the appropriate page.
Training children in family life is also hard work and sometimes requires the use of a stick to control the stubborn will. No one enjoys receiving the stick or even using the stick as a corrective measure. Some parents neglect to use this means to discipline their children, largely because they are undisciplined themselves. They choose to spoil their children as an expression of their own sense of self-gratification.
Okay, I think that when it refers to the stick, it's referring to it as the metaphorical stick.
Oh no, this is an actual stick they're talking about.
Is there a picture of a stick?
There's like a helpful little drawing.
It's just like a picture of like a club and it says the word stick pointing at it. Okay,
No,
so
they gotta have like a sliding scale. It's like walking stick. Yes, this is a stick, and then cricket bat. No, this is not a stick.
I'd like to hear a bit more, please, before I make my judgment.
Okay,
I'm
fair
airing. I'm airing in the 70s, but I think I'm wrong. I
Okay,
think it's probably
fair
going to be
enough.
like the mid 90s.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm thinking sort of lighter shade of pale. It's probably going to be more Screamadelica.
It's the most tortured analogy you've come out with for quite a while, Nick. But,
I like to hurt things.
yeah. You should be grateful that the Geneva Convention doesn't cover torturing metaphors.
Oh, fuck off. Okay, right, come on. Bring it. Bring the house down.
Okay, so here is a section from the page called "The Godly Wife."
Oh, my favourite kind of wife.
So, an ungodly wife will tend towards unfaithfulness and will become discontented and disrespectful. Rather than be submissive, she will become contentious and self-seeking. Such behavior can only bring shame to her husband and undermine his good name in everything he does. Many godly men have become ineffective in their ministry for the Lord because the ungodly lifestyle of their wife has marred their usefulness.
I love the fact that it reads with the grammar and syntax of a poorly translated Japanese menu.
It really does. It feels very awkward to read, doesn't it? There's
Yeah.
something very slightly offbeat about it. For
Yeah,
sure.
just not right. So I'm going to say it's published in 1998.
98, 92. Okay, fair enough.
92,
so
92.
It's under your presumption, it would be 1 year younger than I am.
Yes. I'm thinking that somebody has gone for some form of revival at this point. They're like, I'm going to teach the world how I want to be taught.
Oh, I see. So it's sort of like it's almost like garage rock revival at that point. Then
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like
Yeah, that's
retro,
continuing
deliberately
my-
retro, deliberately lo-fi.
Yeah, it's a neo-gothic. It's basically what Pugin was trying to do with the House of Westminster. These people are trying to do with a shitty book.
So, sometimes I forget that you studied architecture and then you come up with that. Okay, so as I've already said, this wasn't actually ever published anywhere because there's no barcode on it. There's no publishing house on it.
No ISBN. It's just a homemade book.
Yeah, but fortunately, in fact, it's not even a vanity press. I can't even find anything like that. This is clearly homemade. Fortunately for you, however, there is a date written on the inside cover, printed on the inside cover, which says, "Wise words to our children, April 2003."
Oh, bloody hell.
Yeah, I know, right?
Okay, dear, that's bad. That's bad. Do you know what it reminded me of though?
Go on, go on.
When I was in Japan, I was partaking of quite a few beers,
Sure.
and I can't remember specifically which bar this was, but I took a photograph of the menu. This is describing their beer. An angel ring formed in the mug after drinking. Cleaning the keg dispenser every day, adjusting the gas, pressure, and strictly adhering to keg storage methods. Fizz does not stuck the mug. We are 100% committed to a high quality drinking experience.
I love that that last sentence was just completely perfect and coherent, and
Yeah.
it was just like you've kind of whoever's valiantly trying to translate this is sort of stumbling through it and like they're doing their best, and then they get to like the perfect drinking experience and everything just lines up perfectly.
Well, like, what gets me is that basically Japanese translation, a Chinese translation quite often is, because the difference between the Chinese language and English language, nonsensical.
Sure.
Japanese makes perfect sense, but there's something slightly wrong with it. So, for example, and I'll probably put this on the website, this photograph we took, but
Sure.
it's basically saying that if you're under the age of 18, you can't drink here. 21, sorry, under the age of 21, you can't drink here. But it says, if not 21, it cannot accept you. Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like you try and not even that you're trying to get served. It's like you try to drink the beer and the beer just like freezes into ice maybe, so you can't drink it. Oh, that's
The
lovely.
beer's like moving away from your mouth in the glass.
It's like sloshing to the other side.
So, what is your plans for this book you have now?
Well, I don't think I can honestly count it as a cursed object. We talked about cursed objects on the last
It's
part.
not.
I don't think
We should give it away as a prize in a competition.
the thing is, I was talking about this on Instagram earlier this week, and one of our mutual friends commented and said, where do you find this? Like you posting a lot of stuff like this. Where do you find this? And I thought about it for a minute, and I just thought, I just live in a town with an unusually high proportion of Christian fundamentalists, I guess.
Cults.
Yeah, and I always think that that's a really interesting way that you can kind of get a handle on a particular city or a particular town. It's like go to the charity shops.
Now, I used to say that. I say that about indoor markets. I believe that indoor markets are the true reflection of a city or town.
Yeah, how so?
I just think because they're usually quite low rent spaces. So
Yeah.
anyone can get a shop there, and you will find a proper reflection of the people in it in their indoor markets. So like the real butcher shops, the real like you get sort of butcher shops, weigh-in safes.
I love that
fishmongers.
I love that you can't think of a single other profession that sells things other than a butcher.
No, I just burped and did that again because
Oh,
I wanted
right,
to make
sorry.
it more coherent. So I have to say the word butcher shops again now. So you get your butcher shops, fishmongers, you get your weigh-in saves, you get your places that's selling cakes and stuff. You get your if I take you around Leeds Market, you'll see the food sellers and the product sellers. The really weird ones are usually DVDs and like CDs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like they're always selling shite. Like, you'll get Friday the 13th 9 or something.
Yeah,
on
yeah.
DVD, and you're like, how did this ever get DVD release? But it took so long for 100 Days of Sodom to get a Blu-ray release. Stuff like that keeps me awake at night. But
Pasolini turns over in his grave at the thought of another Friday the 13th film. He's just like, oh, 100 Days of Sodom is still not on Blu-ray.
he shrugs nonchalantly in his grave.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Have you
yeah.
ever actually sat through that film?
100 Days of Sodom.
Yeah.
Yes, I have. Although we probably shouldn't talk about it on this podcast.
I don't think we should talk about it anywhere. I think we should sort of nod and walk away from each other in the street.
Yeah, it's like a sort of a code. You know, it's like, oh, have you seen 100 Days of Sodom? Yeah, all right.
We should do an entire special episode entitled "Films that we saw and kind of wish we hadn't."
Oh yeah, that's the well, we've got loads and loads for that
Yeah,
one.
like have you seen a film called Snowtown?
No, I haven't.
It's just unpleasant. That is the way to describe it. Anyway, so you go to an indoor market, and the food vendors, the DVD vendors, all this kind of stuff. The wig makers, that's another one. Like, I didn't realise that there were so many people making wigs in Leeds.
Oh yeah.
For the sort of the community, and you see so much there that you don't see in, like, you go to a mall or whatever, or a shopping arcade, you see all the same bollock shops.
Sure,
You go to
yeah.
an indoor market, you meet real people who are usually strange and have not many teeth.
Yeah, I mean, it does kind of come back to the charity shop point I was making, because like if you go to a charity shop in a city that you're not familiar with, not only do you get kind of a handle on what what the city's about and what the people are like, but you also get an impression of the things that the citizens of this place really liked 5 years ago.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
like a time capsule.
It really is. It's like they're like living, breathing time capsules, and
Yeah.
you can just go in and buy the stuff. It's incredible.
Yeah. Do you know? Right. So I live in Leeds. So there's a lot of high quality, high value food to eat.
Yes.
And the best place to get pad thai in the whole of Leeds is a market stall in the indoor market.
Is it really?
Yeah, £6. I think it's £6.50 actually, but it's £6.50 for a pad thai, and you can get a beer from a place opposite, and it's just perfect. I recommend every person on earth to go out and try and find some decent food in their nearest indoor market, because it will be just quality.
It's like that kind of diamond in the rough kind of thing. It's like oh, it's food from a market stall, but it's like an elevation of that.
Mm.
Actually, I just want to bring a point back that we were making earlier. Speaking of food, because when I came to visit you in Leeds, we went out for a really nice meal at a restaurant whose name I forget. You're gonna have to put it in.
Meat Liquor.
Meat Liquor. There we go. That's liquor as in like spirits, and it's kind of this underground, like literally underground. It's in like the subterranean, and it's just this kind of interesting, quirky sort of. I hate that word quirky, but it's this sort of idiosyncratic
It's
kind of
zany.
hipstery place. Pardon?
It's zany.
Oh, Nick, no, you're making it worse.
That was my intention. Yes.
Yeah, and we're sitting there and we're having some food, and it's all really great.
It's got a real sort of psychobilly aesthetic. It's got a sort of rockabilly, but like with a dark twist thing going on, and so the lights are low. It's got like loads of sort of band posters on the walls and stuff. If you actually open a tab at the bar,
Yeah.
before you get a table, they give you a trucker hat.
Oh no.
Yeah, like me and Camilla went once, and they didn't have a table ready, so for like half an hour. So we sat in the bar. I gave him my card for tab, and he gave me a trucker hat I had to wear.
It's constantly riding that line, isn't it, between being knowingly cool and just being like terrible.
Yeah.
Anyway, the
Luckily,
point
the food's nice.
Yeah, no, the food is really nice. And the only point I wanted to make about it was we're sitting around and we're having this really nice food, and like Eels or Teen Suicide or something is playing, and I'm like, this is actually really cool. This is really nice. And then the song changed and it went into Sweet Home Alabama by Lynyrd Skynyrd, and I looked around. I immediately looked at you, Nick, and I was like, this is not cool anymore. This has gone from cool to zero in like the time it takes to go deep deep like just in that one guitar riff. I was like, all the cool has just got up and left. I'm sorry.
Whenever that starts playing, I get excited because I think it's going to be Werewolf of London.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's the same chords, isn't it? It's D, C, and G.
It never is.
It never is. The worst, like that's the you hear those first chords, and like the true ending is it's Sweet Home Alabama. The good ending is it's Werewolves of London, and the bad ending is that it's Kid Rock all summer long. A song which I get the impression you'd forgotten existed up until now.
I genuinely did.